Welcome to the Cowboy Office Show. Your co-hosts are Jody Brainerd and Brian Diger, reining industry veterans with over 120 years combined experience judging, training, living, and serving this Western lifestyle. The Cowboy Office Show brings you expert analysis and epic discussion on the sport of reining to encourage you to ask more questions, get involved, and manage change. Drop your email at cowboyoffice.com to be the first to receive updates and never miss an episode. Saddle up as we ride into today's show.
This is the NRBC Open Derby Review Show, and here come the 4-year-olds. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Polylast Global. Biosecure footing, built for champions and made to last. Visit them at polylastglobal.com. All one word, polylastglobal.com. I can attest to this high-quality product as we installed much of it throughout Westworld when we did the capital upgrade project in 2014. And if you've been to Westworld in the last few years, you've been on this flooring and product. It's phenomenal. It's all through the wash racks, goes across the roadway with the stabling, and all throughout the Tony Nelson Equestrian Center. Welcome to Chasin' 82, and thank you to Polylast Global. I'm Brian.
And I'm Jody, and I'd like to welcome Polylast Global as a sponsor. It is indeed, Brian. It's an awesome product. We've had it at OSU in the equestrian barn for, 20 some odd years. I don't remember. It was there before I came on board, but it lasts a really long time, and it's phenomenal footing. We're going to talk about this NRBC, having watched a great deal of this just because even though it's 70 miles away, I ended up watching it from home most of the time. Anyway, I'm a little bit guilty of not driving over to see some of that stuff live. What an incredible horse show. And we've said the same thing in our lifetimes over and over again for the last 30 years, 40 years. How can they possibly get any better? Here I am asking that same question again. How in the world can they get any better? What an incredible horse show this was. And I can't wait to dive into it, talk about some of the stats and the numbers that you have come up with. And I'm excited about it.
Well, we've got the numbers, and you're 100% correct. Everybody's getting amazed every time we see a competition. Yes, it keeps getting better, and the depth is just phenomenal, and we'll get into the numbers in a minute. These guys had over a 30% increase in entries. Now we're talking about the open only, and it was largely driven because they added a 4-year-old section, but you're talking about 323 horses, 4 days to go round. We've got the analysis. It's going to be great. I think one of the cool things in today's time is that we can follow it from home. We don't have to go there and spend 14 hours a day. So that's actually a good thing. There are a lot of people following our sport online, and I think that it's a great thing. It's a blessing in disguise no matter what. Again, 323 horses in the open draw, 125 of them were in the 4-year-old section only. These guys added 4 sections, level 1, 2, 3, 4, for 4-year-olds only. Now, part of what happens when you do that, so, they had 11 divisions throughout the entire open draw, which is kind of a monster. But what it also happens is that if you have 4-year-olds only and other aged event horses, you can be riding more than 3 horses. So that puts a whole nother dimension into it. And God bless those guys if they think they can do it.
Right.
Have fun, but there's also a piece in there because you and I have talked about it. It puts a constriction in the business side. Are more younger up and coming trainers having access to quality stock when the mainstream trainers are occupying 4, 5, and 6 of them to show, right?
Absolutely. And, we've talked about this many, many times too. Is it time for that 4-year-old who essentially this time of year, we've said it over and over again, are essentially just 3-year-olds. My goodness. I mean, the fraternity just got over with for the 4-year-olds, right? So is it time for a standalone event there for just the 4s and not mix those in with these aged horses? I said the 4-year-olds, I mean, they're great horses too, with the numbers that these guys show that it's possible to have. And I'm going to be interested to see what the NRHA Derby is going to do down the road too. So, do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, yes, and that's going to be a show coming up in the next 30 days. But did you see the press release that the NRHA just put out like within the last week?
I did not.
150,000 added to 4-year-olds in the NRHA Derby. So, and I don't know how they're going to have the entries broke out, but you're 100% correct. It's going to be interesting to see because 100X has been doing it already.
Right.
So if that's the way it's going to unfold in 2026, will that precipitate standalone 4-year-olds? It's going to be interesting to see. And I agree with you, because now when you come and have to do the analysis on officiating, 4-year-olds competing against other 4-year-olds is a much more consistent and fair competition than having them go against the 5, 6, 7-year-olds.
Indeed. Exactly. And like I said, it'll be interesting to see what transpires. But yeah, I think that, and I again, don't want to, this show is an amazing show, and these horses were incredible in all divisions. But that Derby with the futurity last year, and the Derby and the numbers that they have to deal with already, I'm glad I don't have to manage that horse show. So we'll talk about that when it's over in a month or so. But anyway, back to this horse show. Footing was so good. And when we had a chance to talk to Tom, he said they'd actually had to get rid of one of their practice pins for stalls, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, because he had said that their numbers had exploded. I don't know if there's an end to it.
Well, there's going to have to be, and it's 2 weeks long. Their website, so anybody that wants to go, it's actually really simple, NRBC.com. This is their homepage. We're going to get to this because Cole and this horse, Cole Price and Golden Coins, won it last year. They win level 4 this year. So we'll get back to that in a minute. But the website for the NRBC is NRBC.com. Pretty simple and straightforward. Also, that's going to go into all this, you got to, Jody, just as a note to self, with this event, with the NRBC event, we will have looked at and analyzed 762 entries in the last 3 months. That's the last 90 days. So that's only a quarter of the year. We're just at the beginning. It's going to be pretty wild. We're off to a great start.
And you can't make comparisons unless you have data. And that's what we're doing.
We got it.
Right?
Yes, we got it. We saw it. Just as a little bit of a footnote, we saw some phenomenal horses at the NRBC. There was 2 past futurity champions. Crystallized Whiskey was there. She didn't make it to the finals, but she was shown, and we saw her in Florida too. And I meant to bring that up when we did that piece because I was wondering what was going on, and now I know. She was obviously there kind of getting warmed up, and I'm assuming getting prepared for here, but she didn't make it through. The fireman, he made it. He ends up 3rd, 4th, has a heck of a good horse show. And then we saw a few other phenomenal horses that we've seen in the last few years, like Spook's Got Ice, just wins the qualifier with Gabriel Borges less than a few weeks ago. 007, right. Phenomenal horse.
Yep.
Holy schmoly. Yep. And I'd love to put 007's run side by side digitally with the run that Golden Coins is now kicking out twice in a week. Cool stuff. McNasty, great horse, Custom Dreams, Casey Deary's been riding, and many more, but we're seeing a bunch of them.
Indeed. Yeah. Like I said, those, and the thing about it too, I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit later on in the show too, but so many of these horses that have won so much money are showing like they're 3-year-olds. So I'm just amazed at how well these horses are, and I don't care. Anytime you're in a single spot for 2 weeks, it's a long time. I mean, and shows have evolved. And in our day, the tournament was a week, and we thought it was a really long time, and to be there that long.
Congress was a week.
You're there 2 weeks with a paid warm-up time and stuff. But maybe that's what it takes to make these guys show like they are, because holy cow, they come in, drop their head, and look like, yeah, okay, here's a horse show. Good stuff.
I agree with you, and I've got a chart that we're going to bring up in a little bit because it'll show the age and the sex of the leaders coming out of the go-round. And it's actually interesting because, of course, with the 4-year-old section, those were all 4-years, but then 5 and 6 and 7s. And I think your point's highly valid. How fresh these horses are looking at 5, 6, and 7 years old. Is it the paid warm-ups? I'm not sure what it is, but they're doing a phenomenal job. And these horses are waiting on those riders. I mean, you don't see them come around the corner and lift up and kind of take hold of the riders and go on their own. They are definitely waiting. So it's got to be a combination of all of it, but I'm sure the schooling and training and preparation is way different than in our time.
Exactly. So yeah, it's amazing.
Well, we'll look at entries first.
Okay.
Now it's a little bit skewed. Here it is. And this is the last 3 years at the NRBC Open Derby. So again, everybody's got to remember that we are only looking at and analyzing the open side of the NRBC Classic. But in 2024, they had 250. Last year it was down 5%, 236. Now this year it takes a huge jump, 323 entries, 36% increase in entries. And then, the obvious is why? Well, because they added 125 head of 4-year-olds only. I mean, they put in an incentive for the 4-year-old to go ahead and come on. So yes, great. I think it's cool. It's going to be interesting to see if this becomes a trend to the rest of the industry. Again, they had 11 divisions this year because of the added 4-year-old sections. And there was actually 5 of them, 4 sections of open 4-year-old and 1 4-year-old novice horse section. Then they had the custom cash, the APHA payout for paints, and they had a prime time. And when you see names, I don't know why it shocks me, but when I look at the prime time list, and to me, I think that those are young people.
Yeah, they are.
They were when we were. So anyway,
right. Yeah, we've lobbied for that change, a long time ago. So, and like I said, you know how you feel right now. There's not a whole lot of difference between that 40 and 50, and even that 50 and 60. But you get over that 60 hump now, buddy. Let me tell you something. Stuff starts to rearrange itself.
Yeah,
whether you want it to or not.
Yeah,
so
it might be that. Well, when Craig Schmerzel shows up on the primetime list, it's like something's not right. So anyway,
right, exactly. Or Sean, any of those guys. It's what, right?
Yeah.
So stuff is crazy. But yeah, and I was just looking at that 11. I've been away from it so long. You about have to take an attorney and your accountant to know how to enter these things, right? I mean, there's so many different spots that you slot into and slot out of, and I guess maybe it's positive, but is it? Do we need that many? I don't know.
That'd be an interesting one to talk to the trainers about, because of course, to the pros, money is a lot. That's how they earn a living. That is how they're getting their significant reward for all the hard work that goes into it. True for the horses and the breeders as well. So I don't want to take that away from them.
Right.
And I understand the concept of one big run and you get the most out of it, which is where these multiple purses in a draw come into play. But I do think there's a couple things. I think one of the requirements on entry, because the level up or level all, you got to enter the top and then you can enter other ones that you're eligible. All of those things are a little bit maybe not as exhibitor friendly to the up and comings, because it puts an undue economic burden on the younger trainers that are up and coming, and they don't have the stock. They don't have the stock and they don't have the experience yet. So what are we doing as an industry? I always question that.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been an interesting question to ask Tommy. I wish I'd have thought about that. That would have been a good one. So
well, we'll get it with one of these guys this year.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and we'll talk about it. I did want to point out, because these guys are now billing the NRBC as the $1 million show, because their total payout is now more than $1 million, which would be true. But just in the open side of the Derby, you got 950,000. So well done. And they paid, 91,000 in the go round money.
Right.
Which I was very impressed when I saw that. And then of course, 850 some thousand in all the finals. And the thing that I really give them credit for is that if you make the finals, you're getting a paycheck. The only ones that did not get paychecks were zeros or scratches. So if you stayed on pattern and get a score and you're in the finals, you're getting a check.
Yep.
Good for them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the go-round checks were on the top end. They were good.
Yeah, boy. Yeah. So I want to show you, there's a couple things that I'm going to show you real quick. The basic scattergram, which I know you always think I'm crazy about this one. This just looks at last year and this year on the big points, which is high score, high individual score, cut lines, some of those things. And all it does is let you kind of see in a fast comparison year to year. And for the most part, it's right on target. When we look at cut lines, though, you'll actually see, if you look at the detail, and here's the cut lines across the 4 open divisions last year compared to this year. And it actually takes a step up, which is exactly what you were saying at the onset, Jody, which is the depth. It's like we keep getting amazed, and we do. Well, this is part of it. It took a 222 to make the level 4. That was the cut. 218.5 for level 3, 215.5 for level 2. That's starting to get there. And the 210 is steady across both years. That's for level 1. you know, that 215.5, that's right at a 72. You got to have control of that, which is a level 2 open guy coming through the ranks. I thought that was pretty interesting. It came
Yeah, I
across
think those are really interesting. So yeah, and they just, you know, and like I said, we've talked about this because where is that going to stop in another 2 or 3 years, right? Holy moly, we think they're as good as they can be, and no, they're not.
Right.
So
right. Well, and another interesting point, I'm going to go back to the scattergram quick only for this point because high score last year was 224. High score this year was a 231.5. Median score midpoint last year was a 212.5, and median midpoint score this year 215. So when you go through all those go rounds, which that is a whole step, that's a point per judge per run across the whole thing. I found that interesting myself. So I know I'm a little bit of a number nerd.
And I watched a lot of these runs, and you know, the 231's accurate, or
It's
hell, you could
legit.
have paid more. I'm saying that I don't put the numbers down last year's compared to this year's because of tighter judging or the officiating. I think the horses were better. Maybe it's a combination of both, but I think the horses were so good. So yeah, I think this was well assessed.
Well, on that note, the question would become, because more officials are marking higher level horses on an annual basis, is their skill level of being accurate and marking at that level also elevating? I would say probably yes. Is anybody kind of measuring that? Not sure. But because we're now in the thousands of entries on an annual basis, and you got 50 or 60 judges doing all of that work. So are they routinely seeing more deeper horses and getting way more comfortable of splitting a 1 and 1.5 or plus half and plus 1 and all the rest of that? And my senses say absolutely yes, that's true.
I agree, and I think that and they should. I mean, if you're going to, you know, I mean, it's like it doesn't make any difference if you're a team sport and your division is pretty weak. You're not very good. But if you have to play a bunch of good schools, you become better. And I think these horses, by their nature and by the trainers, they have to get better because just judging, officiating has to become better. There's still plenty of room because we still have that big box of ties down there at that, you know, that 220 to 222. The hard part about separating horses, the really, really good ones are easy. But when it falls off to, like, say, the, you know, 15th to 30th, it's just a big cluster. So those are very hard to separate. And there's still some room for improvement. But by and large, I think it's gotten better.
Yes, I agree with you on all of those regards. I think that I think the pressure on the officiating to get accurate for the depth of competition that we're seeing in today's time is incredible. I know they know it. I know they can feel it. And I know that they are trying hard. It's the rest of the industry that hasn't kind of helped them out yet. And so, which is 100% correct, because where does it get significant? Making cut lines. You're talking about 15 to 20 horses sitting on the bubble of a cut line by half a point. And that half a point can come in a lot of different forms and from a lot of different areas, and it makes a difference. So that's true. So yes.
Good stuff.
Yeah. A few interesting, I want to show you, we're going to come back to this, but just because you were talking about it, making reference, take a peek at this. This is Cole Price's scorecard from the go round. He was draw 130 on golden coins, which ends up winning the whole thing. He wins the go round, 300 horses, and wins the level 4 open. We'll get to that card too. But if you just look at this card real quick, it's all ones. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 1.5s. That's out of 35 maneuvers marked. So it just emphasizes the point that you were just making. Now, that's golden coins, and he's a phenomenal one, which is kind of like a 007, kind of like a Spook's Got Ice. I mean, some of those kind of step up and let you do that as an official. The hard work is one notch down, which is those 222 to 225 horses. So we'll get to it in a minute, but I just thought that was very impressive.
That's a great stat. Great scorecard. Go around scorecard. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you like to own that one?
I'd rather own him and try and beat him.
Yeah. Well, that was my point. That was my point. Yeah. I did want to, because we talked about that in this one, which is The number of mounts these pros could ride in this year's NRBC because of the multiple divisions was actually interesting. I didn't get it into a graph for you, but I do have it in a breakout. There were 4 riders that had 6 mounts in the go round. Okay. Now, when you park that across 4 days, it certainly does. That helps it. That lets them get those horses shown and sorted. Now, when they start to make the finals, that gets to be a different story, and we'll get to that. But you had 4 riders that had 6 horses. You had 5 riders that had 5 horses. You had 7 riders that had 4 horses. And then you see what's normal, which is 29 horses. 29 riders had 3 horses. 4 riders had 2 horses. And 71 riders came with 1. So that's the way the riding component breaks out in this year's NRBC. I just thought it was pretty interesting when you looked at it, and the fact that we saw riders could ride more than 3 horses in the go round. That's like not normal.
Right. It certainly is not. And no matter what, you have a large number of entries, the odds favor the numbers, right? I mean, some of these guys, if they're bringing, they've got 3 head of really nice horses. I mean, I always looked at that in a finals. If some of those riders had 3 horses in a finals, they may have an error on 1, possibly 2, but never 3. That's, like I said, the numbers are what they are.
But then talk real quick. If you had 2 or 3 qualified for the finals, is it easier to get the last one prepared or the first one prepared or the middle? I mean, and I get it that there's individualism to horses, and you're not going to be able to control how they get drawn in the finals, but I'm relating it to how you would manage it in your head. And so it would seem to me that you could get the first one prepared probably the best, and the other 2, you just do the best you can because time is against you. Am I somewhat in the ballgame?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that as the numbers have improved and you're a trainer, you're trying to do the best possible job that you can for your client, and to be able to tell him or her that, yes, we've made the finals and, on those 3 horses. And I think if you could get an honest answer from trainers, I mean, they would rather have 2 than 3. I really believe that they would say, if you could say what they'd say, I'd rather get 2 ready for the finals than 3. So,
right.
I mean,
and then you can have a maximum spread between them, and then you can get them both ready and have good shots.
Yeah. And we talked about that many, many times in previous shows, that is it time to limit the numbers, right? To spread them out. But anyway, that's not for us to decide. We've asked that question many, many times. You yourself have brought it up many, many times. A run for $1 million, 1 horse, they make it work just fine. But
it works.
We're going back to the 1960s when everybody said we ought to have 3 head, right? And it's a question that should be continually asked. So.
Well, and analyzed. I think it goes beyond asking anymore. This is in the modern day is we need analysis, intelligent analysis on what's best for not only the individual, but also the industry. That can now be done. There's no doubt about it. So yes, I want to give you 3 other key things because we talk about this and we have from the beginning of the year and we will throughout the entire series. Unique. So in the draw, 323 unique riders, because the ones I just told you was 160, which is almost half, 49.5% of the entire draw were made up of unique riders. Unique sires, this one is fascinating to me. Now, the NRBC is a closed breeding program. Those sires have to be in the program in order for the offspring to be eligible. That's true. So I wasn't overly surprised, but you had 56 unique sires out of 323 open draws. So that's a pretty strong nucleus of sire potential.
Yes,
and
it
then,
is. Yes, it is. I mean, that's.
Yeah. So if you want to play this game, you better have an NRBC stud on your list if you're going to breed one. That's basically what it's saying. Unique dams, and the thing that we are seeing because of breeding components. Now, the NRBC is open to 4-year-olds to 7-year-olds, so it's not uncommon to have dams can have multiple foals in it. But we're seeing as of the last 2 years, I believe, where a dam is having multiple foals per year. So we're going to see the number of offspring in the competition space from a dam increase. That's true. Unique dams in this year's NRBC Open was 251 out of 323, which is 77%. So you're right at 3/4 are unique, but you got a quarter of them that are having multiple progeny at this level of competition, which is the top. So I just think that that's kind of cool stuff.
It is. And but that word, and we, again, like I said, not to be repetitive, but that word unique used to mean something, and it is not that unique anymore because you're having how many? I mean, full brothers and sisters that are competing at the same time. And so is that a good thing? Maybe from the prize money standpoint, but they're not a unique individual anymore, right? So it waters down the soup.
Yes, it can and it will, and it's going to be interesting to see in the next 8 to 10 years. What does that do? I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so, good question.
Yeah. And it's a good thing. We'll watch it. We'll have the numbers. So
sure. Absolutely.
We'll keep picking away. We're going to put a little bit of emphasis into golden coins and coal price. Congratulations. Second year in a row. I'm not sure. Do you remember? Have we seen this before of a repeat at the NRBC?
I don't think so. I can't remember it happening. It's difficult to win the thing once, right? I mean, I can't remember somebody going back and it's and not only is it a hard thing to do, it's a hard thing to get mentally ready for. I mean, just because, you go back as the defending champion and then you win the go round and, to come back and to win the finals again, that's from a trainer standpoint, from a rider standpoint, mentally, that's a hard thing to do. I would hate going back into a finals winning the go rounds. A lot of times that doesn't work very well.
Right.
Here,
right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah. And then the second, 12 months between these two events. This is a 6-year-old stud this year. So he's 5-year-old last year, shows and dominates the thing at that level. And then 12 months later, you got a lot of things happening in 12 months, including a breeding season. So, getting them in shape, getting their head in order, doing all the things you got to do. Very impressive. There's no doubt about it.
I've asked myself about this, over the years. A lot of times when you're talking about professional human athletes, you get the guys like LeBron or Michael Jordan or back in our hockey days, Wayne Gretzky, and how those guys can be that much better than the best, to me was amazing, because any professional athlete is great in its own right. And then you get an individual that stands out like that. And the humans that, how can you be that much better than the best? And this horse, when I see him, I likened it to, I got a chance maybe 30 years ago to go watch Barry Sanders play football in Green Bay. And it was probably 10 below zero, and it was so flipping cold. And they talk about the turf with them, it's warm and all that kind of stuff, but it was a slick turf. And Barry Sanders ran through the Green Bay Packers 30 years ago like he was the only guy there. I mean, you had linebackers falling down, receivers falling down, everybody's falling down. Barry Sanders didn't slip. And the guy didn't have better cleats. The guy had better balance, right? I mean, he is phenomenal. And this horse is never out of balance. It doesn't matter. I mean, and when I say that, we see really, really good horses that can lose balance in a stop, or they can lose. Luca had a really great run going, and a horse slips and falls down in a rollback. It's a balance loss. This horse, it doesn't matter where his feet are, if he's circling, if he's stopping, if he's rolling back, if he's turning, he doesn't slip. I mean, he just what? It's easy for me, right? So yeah, he's a special piece.
He's a special one, and we've got a copy of the run because it was all over social media and all that stuff, which is very good. I'm glad it did. I want to show you 2 pieces because the top 4. This is what the NRBC put out, which is the top 4 winners of the open level, which we have it too, and we've broken it out in a slightly different format, just because we got the rest of the data that goes with it. But the 4 open riders, and all of this is fascinating. I'm overly impressed. Cole Price, of course, wins level 4, 231.5. That horse is sired by Spook's Got a Gun, and that dam, Electra Cha-Ching, X-Tool quarter horses, and we've got a piece. They own that mother. Ruben Van Dorp wins the level 3 with a 222.5 on a Magnum Chick Dream. Level 2 is Nicole Johnson with a 221.5, and that's a sparkling vintage called Sparkling Face. And then Jack Berggren, I hope I say that right, wins a level 1 with a 220. And it's like, wow.
Right?
So anyways, yeah.
Dude, a 220 for the level 1, and I congratulate Jack too. His fiance is on OSU on my reining team. So
is that right?
Kristen Bagby. So yeah, anyway, so I have a little bit of a connection to that guy. So anyway, congratulations to him. But yeah, that a 220 to win the level 1. It's like, you're marking 73s and 73.5 to win the level 1, what is supposed to be our easiest level, right? It's like
right.
No such thing as an easy reiner. So
wow.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to. Those guys, I only know what it was like when we came up. Yeah, you and I, when we were coming up through the ranks. And it was a very different time. And I hear guys talk about it in today's time, and they want it to be similar or as tough or whatever. And I completely disagree with all of that. But it's because it's a different time. So
yes.
Are you supposed to go through it the same way? No, you're not. I do. And it was plenty tough in our time, no doubt. But people don't remember in yours and my time when we were young assistant trainers trying to come through. I mean, I remember like yesterday, Rick Weaver went in the fraternity as an assistant trainer to Bill Horn. And that was unheard of, but he does. But there was only 2 classes. There was an open and there was a non-pro, and that's it. And so the fraternity had an open fraternity for 3-year-olds, and we had a non-pro fraternity for 3-year-olds. But then when you went to the regular horse show, there was an open and a non-pro. That's all there was. So it was just, and the only point to that is it's different time. So I think about in today's time, these young guys and girls coming up, Nicole Johnson, Jack, when you're riding 73 and 74 horses and trying to work your way up that ladder, what it must be like for them. I don't know. We need to call one of them and get them on the shows.
Right. Yeah. And kudos to him for hanging in there. Tommy brings it up over and over and over again. The numbers of the guys that are actually born in the States of the finals at these major events now, because we're truly a worldwide sport, and the guys that have come into the States, if it's Brazil or if it's Italy or if it's Austria or if it's wherever they're in, and kudos to the young trainers that are making the effort to try to crack this hard nut. It's a chore, and it's no easier than it was in our time, but sometimes I think that people look at this and go like, sort of the way that our lives are now, it's like we want instant success, and this is not something that breeds instant success no matter where you are. I mean, you have a lot of hard years of apprenticeship and learning how to ride horses. So anyway, it's no easier now than it was. Agreed.
So I do think about that often, especially when I see these scores coming through. I do want to show you this one because it goes across. Here it comes. This goes across the entire go round. This shows you, it does a few things, but it shows you. Now, remember, we had 11 divisions. So this is at the conclusion of the go round, and what happens going across the entire event, what section they came from in the go round, how old they were, what sex they are. And it breaks down because and I'll just summarize it really simple for you. There were 2 horses out of the first section that make it, 4 horses out of section 2, 3 horses out of section 3, and 2 horses out of section 4. There were 6 4-year-olds, 2 5-year-olds, and 3 6-year-olds. 7 studs, 1 gelding, 3 mares make up the list of 11 winners coming out of all of that. So from the prime time through the paint horse piece and the 4-year-olds and the 4 open level pieces, that's what this is. And it shows the payouts according to scores, 231, 225, the whole spiel. And the payouts, it paid $21,000 to win the go round. I mean, talk about sweet.
Right? Amazing, right? Yeah, that used to be the check to
Oh,
win the
right.
Derby.
Anyways, I just thought that was kind of cool stuff. But it's you and I have talked about it many times as far as consistency and officiating. When you look across go rounds and where do they come from, and do they deviate much? Because they can do one of two things. They can either constrict down or they can open up and get too loose. So keeping themselves on kilter, and we've got some data that'll show you what the go round looks like. But anyways, I just thought that was pretty interesting, and it does speak very highly to consistency when you talk about 300 horses, 300 draws in 4 days. All of those things are true. You got any questions?
Not at all. It's clear as a bell. It's like your numbers are understandable. So no, I do not have.
Well, some interest. Let me point a few key ones, because these numbers, I don't think the average person talks about. Let me just give them real quick. This year, 2026, NRBC Open Derby Classic. In the go round, 11,305 maneuvers were marked. Those 323 draws, they ran a 7-maneuver pattern, which is 35 maneuver scores per run. And the math comes out to 11,305. That's like a lot.
That's a huge number.
I mean, so right. So when you go look at your scorecard or your friend's scorecard or whoever's scorecard you got interest in, and you only see that scorecard and you have whatever your opinion is of it, think about the fact that they did 11,304 more scores than the one you're looking at. Just note to self. In the finals, section 1, they did 3,400 maneuver scores. Section 2, which there was 85 draws in section 1. There was 32 draws because of ties in section 2. 1,280 maneuver scores in section 2, 32 runs. So when you talk about 32 horses that all can mark 222 and better, you know that's what the cut line was to go to the finals.
Yep.
You can't tell me that what we're asking those officials to do is not hard work. It is. It's really hard work. That makes the Open Classic at the NRBC 15,985 maneuvers you got to mark across that 9 days, 10 days.
It is amazing. We've both been there. We know what that's like. I will say this though, being privately owned, they get to do what they want to. And you and I have said over and over and over again, it is not fair physically and mentally. And like I said, NRHA is a great association. It made me a living. But to NRBC, I think NRA can take a lesson here, because NRBC took their level 4 horses and ran them the next day.
Yep.
So they didn't, you're talking about maneuver evaluations here. At least they were able to separate those. Not only does it make it easier to judge the good horses in one bunch, but the fatigue factor's not there, and you don't have downtime while you're waiting for this finals performance to come. And it's just such a really nice way to, from an officiating standpoint, to be able to run your horse show. I mean, to judge it. So I've never had the opportunity to judge one like that, but I certainly would have liked to have had that opportunity.
Correct. I thought it was interesting because they had the level 2, the second section, level 4 open final started at noon Central Time, which I thought, and to my understanding, those officials didn't do anything else. So, I mean, they really had them ready for the finals, and they did a phenomenal job, no doubt. But they're putting in the effort to put on a great finals for everybody. I think that's really interesting. So anyways, and the mere fact of a Saturday afternoon opposed to pushing it in the evening, good for them. I hope they keep creating, because it's nothing but good for the sport. And I agree with you 100%. I'm going to show you we got a couple clips quick, because Golden Coins is getting a lot of attention. Wins it 2 years in a row. Special horse, without a doubt. Silver Spurs owns and stands the stud. Spook's Got a Gun. That's the sire to Spook's Got a Whiz. So that makes this horse paternal half sire, and the dam is Electric Cha-Ching that X2 Quarter Horses owns. So the clips, hang on, there is no sound to this. These are coming right off of Facebook, right off social clips. They're out there and going. And they do some cool editing to it, because you can see this being slow mode. And obviously Cole and this horse got a bond, and they know each other quite well. So it's pretty It's pretty awesome stuff, and I got another one coming here.
is.
Okay. And this is another one, but it goes a little, and this was put out by X2 Quarter Horses, who owns the dam of this horse. They were just the mother of this horse is congratulating Cole and Golden Coins, and it's pretty cool. Got some of the same clips.
Pretty cool. No,
Yeah.
no, it's really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's special stuff. Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. He'd have been fun to judge.
Yeah. Yes, he would. Without a doubt. Remember the card. So I can bring that one. Let me show you this. And then we're going to take a peek at his run because it's been all over social media. So we've got access to it and we will run it. But let me show you this one first because now this is Golden Coin and Cole Price's 2 runs. Draw 130 is the top card in the go round. And then the bottom card is draw 19 in the section 2 finals. They're pretty impressive, but I would also tell you, this is just me, I would tell you they're a little on the conservative side too, because there is plenty of room. Well, we talk about this a lot of times. I question this. Are we looking for perfection as opposed to just identifying excellence? And is that why we see fewer plus 1.5s? I question that. That's just my question to what we're doing. And this exemplifies a piece of that. Do you have a take on that?
Well, I do. And I watched this horse and like I said, I previously alluded to this guy's balance. And he's one that, this is a horse that can run a set of circles. And I think the circles are very good without having to use a great deal of speed just because of the way that this horse is, the quality of his movement and the way that he steers and downward transitions and all that good stuff. When I look at this horse turn and I look at him stop, I think he defines excellence. Like I said, it's not perfection, but some of the stuff I ask myself, how can it possibly be any better? I mean, I don't know how. So I would say, rather than say define excellence, I would say, tell me what isn't excellent about this maneuver that this horse does. That would be an interesting way that I would like to, I would have that unofficial tell me, So, because I could have called 5 of those maneuvers excellent without any issue at all and called the other ones very good. So, I mean, just food for thought.
I completely agree. And what a great way to look at it. And again, maybe that's part of it. What we got to help ourselves to do in the little bit of prep and training is asking that question in an opposite and alternative way, because there it is. And I agree with you. And we're going to see, I know we are, we're going to see more of this as time marches on, which is nothing but great for the sport. And I just think of whatever, I don't know. Will this horse show up at the Run for the Million finals? I don't know. Is he going to show up at the NRHA Derby in a month? So, and it's not just him. I mean, the mere fact that Crystallized Whiskey and the Fireman, Luke's Got a Ice. I mean, shoot, there's 50 of them, right?
Yeah.
We're going to run his run. And I want you to talk about it. There is no audio in it. It's coming straight off of Facebook because it's out there buzzing around. Golden Coins, the horse, is owned by Golden Coins Limited, LLC. I don't know who's the ownership group in there. They obviously got a Facebook page. So this is coming right off it. So give me a second. Here he comes. Right.
I mean,
just phenomenal.
his approach is excellent. When he says whoa to him, I mean, the horse's balance, his front end is excellent. And he is in full reverse before he has the opportunity. I mean, just 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
It's like turning that hard. That's hard to finish. You know what I mean? To have a finish like that, a balanced finish.
Precise.
So yeah, I'm for, I think his first set of turns, he had a penalty half and he still won. So I figured that, I think that those were excellent. So
yeah.
on dead center in the middle from a pattern placement standpoint.
General all day.
Absolutely between the bridle reins.
And you talked about balance a lot, and you're 100% correct, but you'll have a tendency to take that for granted watching this horse because he's so good with it. Just phenomenal.
I mean, his top line doesn't move. He's, but like I said, Cole does a great job of telling him where to go. And this guy, he didn't ask a single question. He just says, okay, I got this.
Yep.
Only 2 spots for the circle. It's very good or excellent, +1 and +1.5. And again,
that's the one where your question of how can it not be an excellent?
Right.
Tell me why not.
Yeah. Tell me why it's excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's got his hand right in the middle of this horse's mane. He's not, you lose a little bit of speed on video. This horse is running.
Yeah.
He's not loping the circle. I mean, and excellent. I mean, from the slow, small, pattern placement, large, fast, lead change. I consider that an excellent set of circles.
Yep. I do too.
And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's not what excellence means. You're absolutely right. I'd struggle to make it better. And how's my approach?
Awesome. Stop. Awesome.
Oof.
Roll back. Awesome.
Yeah.
And even though it was a 2-point, it's still awesome. This horse is this is a control game, and this horse is so tuned in, full control. Just the precision is just phenomenal, and is not looking for trouble. Not at all. Never. Look at this. Whoa. And you could say the same thing about that rollback, but it's still not, it's not undoing at all. Yeah.
Absolutely. And he's just so honest around the end.
For a 6-year-old stud, that's very impressive.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even ask a question in his approach. He knows what's coming, and he just says, okay.
Yep. I'm
You know?
waiting. Yep. I'm waiting. Tell me, master. Look at his horse's face. Look at his
Yeah.
expression. His ears are perked up and he's kind of
Yeah.
like bright eyed and he's
Yeah.
just another day, you know?
Yeah. I said, yeah, let's go to the stall. You
Yeah.
know, so, did we do
Oh,
good?
yeah.
Yeah.
So when you put that together with the scorecards, and these are the cards again, and it's, yes, of course, I think it's an interesting spot for the industry. We're not up for debate, but this is just an interesting piece of
Right.
where we are. And I think that you said it as good as we can. Thank you. Just kind of pull it all together with a few more stats. I do want to give you so that everybody can understand. Score spreads is where everybody likes to kind of talk about, and they can casually follow it. And so I can give. There's two things, and I will bring a graph in. It won't do year to year, but it'll do this year's comparison. I'll bring it in a minute. But when you look at score spreads last year, now remember you had 3 sections. This year you had 4 sections in the go round. And then, of course, 2 sets of finals. Pretty close. Section 1 last year, 88.9% score spread rate, which is 88.9% of all scores were within 2 points. That's what it says. This year's 83.5. Section 2 last year was 83.1. This year is 82.8. Section 3 last year was 87%. This year, 91.8%. It's actually one of the highest in score spreads, which means they are absolutely in the normal range 92% of the time. That's like actually really good. Now,
Really?
Section 4, there was no Section 4 last year. So you added a section for that, another 80 head of horses this year, 81.2 in their last section. So when you look across it, they're relatively equal. Last year, this year, not the same judges, but yes, across the competition. Where's their consistency when you look at score spreads? So we'll take it one more step. In the finals, last year was 86.2% on score spreads. This year in final section 1, 91.8%. And that's actually a harder section because you got more diversity. You had 85 horses in it. You got that's level 1, 2, and 3 together. So I'm not picking on them, but it is demanding.
Understandable.
And final section 2 last year was 85%. This year was 81.2, which is exactly what we were just talking about. Now, it didn't happen on Cole's run, but you will find plenty of those runs that are in that 222 to 225 category. They're not all seeing it the same on quality. That's true. That's where it comes from. Now, when you talk about accuracy, this is the go round. Now, remember, this is go round. But this is using the scale in the go rounds. 323 entries using the scale maneuver pattern, 35 maneuvers per set of 5 judges per run. This is exactly the way it breaks out. Okay? So, and it'll show you up in the top. And again, this is not new news because this is where we all are, which is plus half, plus 1, plus 1.5. 0.2% of 323 runs had 1.5 in it. But if you look in the top right-hand corner, you will see the breakout of minus half to plus half, 0 to plus 1, and plus half to plus 1. And it's the percent of those maneuvers in that section on how they break out accordingly. And I got it for the finals, so I can tell it to you, because 86.9% of the marks in the go round were from minus half to plus half. That will compare to 81.4 in the first section finals and 71% in the second section finals. That's from minus half to plus half. So you got to remember. So what's it doing? It's displaying how much negative was in that section. When you look at 0 to plus 1, you had 87.7% in the go round. 77.7% of it was from 0 to plus 1 in the final section 1. 89.5. You're at 90% of the maneuvers marked in the section 2 finals were 0 to plus 1. And then when you look at just plus half and plus 1 maneuvers, 56.5% was in the go round, 41.7% in section 1 finals, 75.6. That's 3/4 of all the maneuvers in section 2 finals were plus half or plus one.
Amazing.
That
Huh?
tells you how deep.
Wow. Absolutely. Wow.
So,
Indeed. Just a crazy.
yeah. And then we can take it one more step, which is the accuracy rate. And you and I talk about it a lot. And we talk about the accuracy because it's actually more specific and more accurate than score spreads. Score spreads is casual in what it's actually telling you. It's telling you that you have something to look at, but it doesn't tell you any more than that. So they spread on a given run by 3 points, so to speak, whippy-do. You have to go look at it and figure it out. It's the accuracy that is a big piece. I've got one that I want to show you now. This is only the go round. So 323, I say only 4 days, 300 head of horses. This charts the accuracy rate, how accurate they are at the maneuver level across the runs, and compares it to the plus half and plus one rate. So how many maneuvers we're getting plus half and plus one scores relative to the accuracy across the go round. And these are the 4 sections. The accuracy rate is built off the negative of the error, and the error is crossing 0 and maneuver spreads of 1 point or more. So when it says it's 58% accurate, when it says it's 58% accurate, it was 42% error. Just a simple,
Right.
which, or 42% of the runs had errors in it, which means it either had maneuvers across 0 or it had maneuvers of 1 point or more beyond it. And it's relative to maneuvers being marked between plus half and plus one, because that is the green line is plus half to plus one, and the blue line is the accuracy rate. So that's what this is looking at across the go round, which the section 3 is where they separated those two functions a little bit.
But yeah, the accuracy rate is, like I said, it's the bottom line is no matter how good or how poor the run itself may be, there is confusion. I mean, if one person sees it as good and one person sees it as poor, there's an issue. And if one person sees it as correct and one person sees it as very good, there's an issue.
Yep, that is correct. This is the almost same thing. This is plotting. This is the go round again, 4 sections to go round, and it plots the score spreads compared to the accuracy rate and watches them move. And they move in direct correlation, but with the same distance between them across the entire go round. So there's a positive and a negative in that, which is exactly what you were talking about. The good news is they were very consistent. The bad news is the accuracy, because at the maneuver level, which is quality determination is what our industry is having a hard time with. That's the bottom line to the whole story, because the accuracy score spread is in the blue line, which is the top. Accuracy is on the bottom. So how accurate were they in the go round? 62% in the first section, 61.2% in the fourth section. They're right in there across those 4 sections. So that's exactly what they're doing. So their consistency is high. The chore is very demanding, and we know that. That's
Absolutely.
what we got. Yep.
Those are great numbers.
Yeah,
they are. And the consistency from event to event is what's I find interesting. So.
Right. And I agree with you. I'm going to show it to you. This is the accuracy rate. This is showing you the high score. And this is all 4 sections of the go round and the 2 finals. So it gives you the high score of that section. And then it gives you the accuracy rate, which I just showed you in that graph compared to the score spreads. But then it also gives you non-unanimous penalties. And this is one of my pet peeves. I'm more so because per section, this is true. About 10 to 12% of all runs in the top end of our sport are getting penalties. So penalties are not separating it out. But when they do show up, 3/4 of those penalties are non-unanimous, which means they're not being reviewed, which means 2 or more judges apply a penalty, but not all 5 apply it. And that's those 0.5 point and 1 point deviations, because a penalty is deemed to have happened by only a portion of the officiating team and not by all of them. So a non-unanimous penalty is that scenario, which is 3/4 of penalties happening. The good news is 10 to 12% of all runs have penalties. The bad news is 3/4 of those penalties are not unanimous. So they're not reviewing them and they're not coming clean. And this shows you that across the entire Open Derby. So when you go look at your cards or you're talking about, I missed the finals by half a point, there's more in there. So you have to go look at that. And we need to make note to everybody that when you look at cards, the pure majority is not always correct. There are sometimes the minority is correct, and you have to truly do an analysis on it. I'm not picking, it's just a fact. Correct?
We've had that happen many times. And both from a monitor standpoint and in that group environment. And good judges will look at that the next morning and go, wow.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah, right. It's like, oops. So, but yeah, that is something that it's always, like I said, we'd always make the joke about that. It's the guy who was high did the best job, right? I mean, for your
yeah. So everybody says.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So not always the case, but no, that's great stuff.
Yeah,
really good.
We want to leave and pull it all together. I wish that there was a simple summary. There's not. Congratulations to Cole Price, Golden Coins Limited that owns this horse. Spook's Got a Gun, Silver Spurs, sire of this horse. X-Tool Quarter Horses owning the dam of this horse. Congratulations. It's just phenomenal stuff. The summary is, wow. The sport is going, it's rolling, it's off to a phenomenal start. I hope the year just does nothing but continues to climb on that. And I'm excited to follow the entire thing all the way through. And there's other good stuff in the rest of the Western industry that if you go to CowboyOffice.com, put your email in, join along, we kind of pull in some other information as the rest of the industry comes along through our email. But next up is going to be the Best Little Derby of the West in Nampa, Idaho. That happens in May, and then the NRH8 Derby, which is going to be somewhat similar to what we just saw with the NRBC Derby. So it's going to be interesting what horses are there and what ones aren't. And the NRH8 just announced $150,000 new added money for 4-year-olds only in the Derby. What will that do? We're going to see. And we're chasing 82. 78s are getting close, but we're not there yet. So 82 and a 246 is what we still want to see.
Well, I can't wait for that. I would leave you and our viewers with this. I just heard the other day that our good friend Matt Flaherty had got into a little accident with a horse, and he's got some downtime and a pretty severe injury, but he's recovering. And Mike, his dad, is riding his 3-year-olds for him, and we just wish him the best, and hopefully everything works out. He recovers well. I actually told Sarah, who'd worked for me, his wife, that probably 20 some odd years ago, I was at the North Central Futurity in St. Paul, and I had two futurity horses, and I had one really nice horse and one not so nice horse. And one of them slipped with me in the practice pen, and I took a pretty big ding on an ankle, and I was lame and wondering whether or not I could even show. And my good friend, Rick Weaver, came up and he volunteered to show the good one for me. He didn't want to do anything to do with the other one. So I told Sarah, I said, if Matt needs me to show a good one for him, by all means, I'm ready. So
just call.
Anyway, good recovery to you, Matt. And Rick, thanks a lot. That was very generous of you, even that 20 years ago, to offer to ride that good horse. Thanks to Polylast, our sponsor, and can't wait for the next show.
Matt, get well soon. We look forward to seeing you. Get well soon. And indeed, thank you to Polylast Global. We look forward to more. Follow along. And until next time, enjoy the ride.
Stay in the middle.
Today's episode is brought to you by 4D Productions in cooperation with the Consultment Agency, a full-service agency that helps bring forward-thinking equine brands into the 21st century using digital skills and services such as website development, graphic design, social media, and media production such as the podcast you're consuming here today.